What would it look like to start the school year by asking students how they define a successful, inclusive learning experience? Not just opening the doors to classrooms, but opening opportunities for student voice. Opening your eyes to students who feel unseen. Rebuilding trust. Rethinking power dynamics in schools. At the 2025 New School Summit, a group of students stood before a room full of education leaders, funders, and policymakers, and asked a simple question.
I'm going to ask each of you to react to the statement on the screen. When I was in high school, I felt hurt by adults making decisions about my education.
They asked everyone to stand up. Lean left if you felt heard. Lean right if you felt ignored. Stay in the middle if you were somewhere in between. Many leaned right.
Rigid, disconnected, transactional. It's a good one.
Those were just some of the words adults used to describe their own school experiences. And that was the point, to show that many students today are navigating the same feelings of isolation, pressure, and invisibility. But now, these challenges are layered with new realities: political division, economic uncertainty, and the lingering impacts of the pandemic. A recent Harvard Youth poll found that only 19% of young people say they feel very trusting of the country's institutions. Rates of loneliness and disconnection are climbing. But here's the difference. Today's students aren't staying silent. They're speaking up and demanding to be heard.
Students are 100% of the people that are impacted by the decisions that are made by school boards, yet currently in 98% of school districts across the country, we are 0% of the decision makers.
So in this episode of Bright Spots, we're turning the mic over to them. The central question: what do students want from the future of education? And how can adults listen and respond with courage and action? For many students, the first thing they want adults to understand is this: they often feel unseen.
I don't see myself represented in the classroom or even in curriculums. Just even recently, I took AP US history, and my teacher only briefly touched on Mexican American segregation, and actually Mexican Americans as part of American history.
I started feeling like everything was the same. I didn't find anything interesting when I was in high school. So the most emotion I felt was, I wouldn't say I was bored, it's just that I just felt like I was repeating everything over and over again. I didn't see anything new.
Some talked about feeling disinterested. Others felt anxious, even fearful.
A lot of uncertainties come from the current administration and just current things that impact me just as an immigrant student and impact my community that I feel very fearful of. However, advocacy is a tool that I use in order to change that.
And while they're clear about the problems, they're just as clear about the solutions. Students are not only asking for change, they're creating it.
We led a campaign against proposed Amendment 2, which would take public funding dollars away from public schools and put them towards private schools. And because we are a majority of public schools in Kentucky, we fought against that. And like Louisa mentioned, we are suing the state of Kentucky for not providing us with an adequate education.
We do a lot of campaigns to advocate for students and help them empowered to be leaders in their communities. For example, we did a campaign named Save RIPTA. It was the public transportation of the city. It was getting defunded by the state, and we decided to advocate for them because that's the way a lot of students get to school.
So to have a student board member serving on your school board serves as a direct contact point for that school board that's usually, more often than not, so disconnected from the student body. To have a student there serving as not just a liaison and a representative, but also a board member. Not just a student who tells the board what the students want, but a student who sits up at the table and participates in those discussions about what the direction of the district needs to be moving forward.
From Louisville to Providence, students are co-creating school policies, shaping curriculum, and even challenging state legislation.
Obviously, young people are feeling distrustful of institutions, but that does not mean that we as young people are apathetic or that we don't care. There are students across the country in networks like SANE who are fighting every day to advance racial equity, educational equity, and all sorts of other issues that we are passionate about as young people.
So what do they want from adults?
The best way to help students is to talk to them, ask them what do they need, how do they feel, if they feel supported, if they don't feel supported. Yeah, it's very straightforward. Just ask them, hey, do you need help? Do you feel supported? Do you feel heard?
You can't just underestimate someone because they're under 18 or 18. And you really just need to value student voices and listen to them and respect them and use your own voice to amplify theirs.
Bridge that generational gap between school administrators and school boards and students so that we can have more of a say in our education.
Students are not a monolith. Students are very diverse, and we need to acknowledge that, because not only students from certain backgrounds deserve to be heard in the education system. When it comes to elevating the voices, we want to elevate minorities. We want to elevate students who are part of vulnerable communities, because that is democracy.
Here's the truth. Young people aren't waiting for permission to lead. They're already doing it. They're organizing. They're reimagining school. They're building movements.
When you invest in student and youth engagement today, that is investing in civic engagement tomorrow.
So the question isn't whether young people are ready. It's whether we are ready to listen, to share power, and to lead together. This school year can be more than a return to routines. It can be a reset, a moment to rebuild trust, reimagine what's possible, and lead with courage. Thanks for listening to Bright Spots. For more stories and insights from the field, visit newschools.org or click the link in our show notes. Until next time, keep going and go together.